It's Joe.
Hey yo! How's everyone doing? Oh, it's been pretty chill over here. I'm enjoying a relaxing weekend. it's been a while since I had the time to play some games, or like made the time to play some games, and relax a little bit. So it's good. I'm having fun. Gonna be diving into some more personal work in the afternoon though. I might, well, afternoon. It's already afternoon technically. It's been a while since I streamed actually. I might do that in the afternoon. Maybe just straight after the stream, depends on how long it takes. Because I also wanna update to like the new version of Unreal with my scene and try out some stuff. Hey Leon, how's it going? You having a nice Sunday? Sounds good. Been doing a lot of art in the recent days. Oh, nice. You have any examples? Like a link that I can check out? Well, you don't have to, right? But I'd be curious to check it out if you want to. You don't have to, though. I averted a major crisis. Oh, I had in my Unreal project. Okay. I was thinking about a real crisis for just a second. I mean, it's still a real crisis, right? But like a real life crisis. So I'm good now. What happened, man? What happened? Did you like lose all the files almost or something like that? Still gonna mostly lurk today because there's still a lot of things to do. Alright, that's good, man. Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Probably lost a bit of your lifespan just because of all the stress. Hey, Polygon, how's it going? How is everyone doing on this? It's not so beautiful, but still a good Sunday. I have to submit a build project, and I had some major errors I couldn't even start with. Had to convert the entire project. Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that like on deadline day, like converting your entire project and all that. Doing all right, having a chill day. Oh yeah, that sounds good, Polygon. I'm doing good, doing good. I'm having a pretty chill weekend too. I played some Stellaris yesterday, until way too late. But I'm probably gonna do some more personal work in the afternoon. I'm trying to upgrade. Well, I'm not trying to. I'm currently in the process of upgrading to like a new Unreal Engine version. Try some volumetric clouds. Try some of the new lighting features that they have in. And also, I like this in the community chat too, like in the Discord channel, like the depth of field. There's some cool stuff that you can do with it to make it look really good. I want to give that like a quick look as well. Oh, that's looking good, Bikes. That's pretty cool. With the mod tools. What do you mean, Paul? What kind of tools are we talking about? Oh, modeling tools. Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they look pretty interesting. I might give them a try for my scene as well. Maybe because the issue that I'm currently having, well, it's not an issue. I still need to do more work on it. Is that my medieval buildings all feel like a little bit grid-like? They all feel a little bit too square. So it would be cool if I can adjust them and then combine them into like a new group so that I have like crooked houses. It would be pretty interesting. They're gonna break away from the grid a little bit, but I think that's good. Yeah, I forgot about the modeling tools. I should give those a try too. All right, let's dive into some questions though. Uh, we have a couple. They're all from one person this time. Let me double check the anonymous questionnaire first. See if we haven't missed it there. Let's have a quick look. Nope, no responses. That's good. All right, cool. So, first question. These are all from Mohammed Al Buhi. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Forgive me if I didn't. First question is, when working on portfolio props, should you aim for quality or optimization? That is a good question. I would say if I had to make a choice, focus on quality and then optimization. Because quality is the thing that's going to make you stand out. And that's the thing that you're known for. You can, like, it's way easier to optimize a good looking prop than to make an optimized prop good looking. So always aim for the quality first and then do optimizations. I mean, it's not a black and white situation, right? Because if you look at a game art portfolio and like the work looks absolutely stunning, but you can't get it to run, or like it's just like high poly, then it doesn't really matter. Like there needs to be some sort of balance between it. But in general, optimization is way easier to learn than getting like good quality. So yeah, there's also like a lot of factors to optimization, right? You noted some of them in brackets as well, where you have the poly count, number of texture sets, all that kind of stuff. Um, where the most common one is definitely poly count, trying to get like clean topology while still looking not looking game breaking or like not noticeable, like avoiding noticeable edges, having a good balance between rounded object and straight objects, having good, what's the word for it, dispersal, no, not dispersal, but like yeah, I can't really think of the specific word that I'm thinking of, but having, like, if you have multiple cylindrical objects, you can't have one being super rounded and then the one being really chunky. There needs to be like similarity between that. Like they need to be almost equal in their treatment. There's some other facets that come into that as well, right? Whereas the cylinder that is making the silhouette more interesting might be more important than the one that isn't contributing to the silhouette. For example. Yeah, also a number of texture sets. Use of the trim sheets, all that kind of stuff is more like the technical stuff that you can learn. But I would aim for the quality first and then go for the optimization pass. When working on environments, will recruiters prioritize people who used workflows like trim sheets and decals to those who do not? This is highly dependent. There's no black and white question like answer to this, because recruiters look for the people that are best fitted for the project that you're on, right? So if you have, for example, a project like Godfall, which is quite heavy in trim sheets, compared to, let's say, an Uncharted. Like, the priorities in the artistic choices are going to be completely different in those two examples, where you're working to a really high unique degree in Uncharted, where you have to think completely different when working on a game like Godfall, for example, where you have to do way more planning, you have to be way more optimized in the way that you work, um, just to just to be more applicable to that specific production. So there's no real if I only do unique props, am I bad for certain sections? Like, you might be locking yourself out for like heavy trim sheet based workflows, for example. But that doesn't mean it also doesn't mean that you aren't going to be hired for those roles. Again, a trim sheet is more like a technique of working. Like, if the underlying artistic direction and the artistic understanding from you as an artist will always take precedent over those technical skills that will be easier to learn. So, prioritize people who worked with trim sheets and decals? No, it depends on the project. Obviously, the more tools that you have in your tool belt, the easier it is to then be prioritized, or it gives you like what is it, like a starting position, or it's more favorable for the production or like the studio that you're working for, because you can be like, say for example, you're working on this project, like, I'm just naming one, right? Like Uncharted. But then the next project that they want to do is going to be something different, where the workflow might differ a little bit. They know that you can handle that too. So there's a lot of, I do want to open up a little bit, because this is also why, if you get rejected from an artist, or as an artist, like applying to a studio, it's not only about you not being good enough. There's all these moving parts that the recruiters have to take into account, where you might have made a killer artist and your portfolio looks absolutely amazing. But for that project that they're working on, they're looking at a trim sheet workflow, and they have an artist of the same caliber that also knows trim sheets. Then they will prioritize that person over you. So I feel like this is really important to iterate on, because a lot of people, they take it onto themselves. Like, oh, I didn't get accepted, I must be bad. Like, no, there's like other factors working within the entire system too. It's not just because you didn't get accepted for this one position that you're really bad. It just means that there are other people that have like a slightly different skill set. And they don't even, like, in some cases, they might not even be as good as you. If we look at like a pure artistic basis, right? But they have a couple of additional skills that make them more applicable to getting hired at that specific studio. I know that this is like really generic stuff, or like general advice, but I think it's really important to iterate. Just because a lot of artists, they drag themselves down when they don't hit like an artist, or they don't make it through like an interview process. I know that this is like a slight tangent to that, but I think it's really important to just bring that up too. What do you all think about that? Like, have you ever personally felt that heavy demotivation of not getting that job, and then putting everything on yourself? Because I know I did, especially in the beginning. But it's it's something that you have to recognize, that you have to it's, I kind of see it as a skill. Like you get better at accepting and like dealing with it, where it's not just like it's not black and white, right? Again, with everything that I talk about, I seem to be going on like the same tangents where it's not just like white or black. It's there's like a lot of stuff that goes into it, like in the background. And it's important not to take it on yourself and just like let it demotivate you, because that can really hurt your artistic journey too. %, for sure. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. But yeah, like I said, think about the big picture, because it's also important to think about you're not only looking for a company, the company is also looking for you. And they have to look for like a specific profile that they're looking for. Tuscary 1. Hey everyone. Hey Tuscary, how's it going? So yeah, it's really important not to burden yourself with it, like in a really demotivating way. You should be able, well, this is like a bigger statement. The way that I look at it is I get through this initial like hit of like, oh damn, I didn't make it. But then I turn that energy into like, look, I'll show them kind of energy, right? I just turn it into something positive, and it drives me to make more. Not bad. Yourself? Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. Just talking about getting into the industry and like how artists deal with the demotivation that might come with being rejected from like application. That's what I try to stick with now too. I think that's good. Because there's like another aspect to this, right? Where people tend to put their eggs in one basket. Where it's like, look, this is my dream company. I want to go for that. And when they didn't make it, it's like all those years they feel like they failed. But you have to kind of zoom out and see it as like a bigger journey, where you might be working for smaller studios first, like working up the skill set to move to bigger studios, and then eventually get at your dream job. And maybe in the meantime, your perception of that dream job might also have changed. And because I know some people that were really, I mean, this is like a typical example, right? They really want to work for Blizzard, because I mean that's like when it comes to like artistic style, that's the one that always stands out, right? But then along the way, they went through like a couple of other studios, and then they were like, I don't really need to work at Blizzard. And they were just happy where they were at that time. So keep that in mind too. Like it's a really long journey, and it might take you some time to get there too. Yeah, anyway, about that tangent, we do have one more question from Mohammed. If you have a question yourself, feel free to just drop it in the chat, right? And we can discuss it afterwards. Oh, Tuscary. Had a lot of interviews around the UK that got into the final stages of the interviews but didn't make it. Yeah. And then got a Decagon job and then a VR role, which I'm really loving. Oh, that's awesome. Just keep going. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's really awesome. So, like well, we'll get to your question, Mohammed. I think this is also a really interesting point to bring up, where I see this happening a lot, right? especially if we're talking about Decagon specifically. Decagon is like a really good incubator for prop artists where they get support and they get taught all the skills like in an actual production environment. You do have to be you do have to know how to make props already, right? Like it's not a zero, like start from zero, like start from scratch thing. So you do have to know your stuff already. But I think it's really good that it shows, like it almost feels to me like it's bridging the gap where it's giving artists that make really good props production experience to then make them more applicable for the industry, which is pretty cool. Definitely still do have a few studios that I would love to work at, but I would be happy to work anywhere. Hell yeah! Yeah. Make cool stuff all day. Yeah, that's a dream, right? Making cool stuff all day. Alright. Last question from Mohammed. Also, what do you think about the next gen game development in terms of technical constraints? Do artists have more freedom now, or has nothing changed from the previous generation? That is a good question. Because I've worked like with the generation switch. I worked on like such a different what is it like product, where before I was working on these theme park simulator things like Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo, all that kind of stuff, and now I'm working on Far Cry 6. So this, it doesn't give me a really good point of a reference, if you know what I mean. Like it doesn't really give me like an apples to apples comparison for my personal experience. If we're going into assumption territory, and I have to make like a couple assumptions, all the development, like all the next gen game development stuff that's happening will always open up like less and less technical constraints. So yeah, I mean, if we're looking at purely the artistic freedom that we as artists have, it's always going to become more open and open. Where, I mean, this is like an extreme example, but if we look at like 10 years ago, like PBR wasn't a thing. Like the authoring of textures was like really cumbersome. Like it took you a while to get like good textures, because it what was it back then, like 10 years ago? We're talking about hand altering textures in Photoshop, probably, or like starting with a photo and then cleaning up that photo. That could be like a good starting point as well. I mean, limitations on like texture budgets, limitations on poly counts, limitations on, yeah, just the amount of stuff that you could have rendered on your screen at one time have changed so dramatically, like over the last 10 years. I know that 10 years, well, it's kind of accurate, right? Because when did the last gen come out? Like PlayStation 4, when did that come out? I have no idea. 2014. Oh no, 2013. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. If we're talking about like last gen compared to this gen, it's ridiculous. Like how much has changed, like compared to these two generations. Like all the programs that everyone is now using as like well, if we look at it from an artistic perspective, right? If we look at Substance Suite, if we look at Blender, for example, Unreal Engine wasn't really well, it was UDK, so it was already there, but it had like more severe limitations on it. Unreal Engine 4 is so user friendly, especially for artists, because it helps you get to grips with art so quickly. It's it's honestly pretty crazy how quick stuff goes. So definitely, like artists have more freedom now than in previous generation, for sure. Just like just the technical constraints, right? Like you talked about. If we just look at the hard drive size, for example, you can store so much more on like hard drives now than you could do back then. They're also way quicker. Loading times are way quicker. And this also just opens up like a lot of potential for like artists in the industry. It's pretty crazy. Tusker, you had a lot of interviews? Yeah, I had the same thing. Like in the beginning when I was looking for a job, I was pretty lucky. Never underestimate luck. My work was okay. I wouldn't say, well, compared to the artists that are coming out now. Even the mediocre, like the average level of artists that are coming out now, not looking at the top, I was probably below average. If we kind of compare it to my stuff back then. Obviously, this is like a lot of assumptions, like a lot of hoop jumping that I'm doing, right? You can't really compare them in a straight way. But you can never underestimate luck. Like I was pretty lucky to land one interview, and they were really happy with me. That was Frontier Development, and I will be forever grateful for them to just open the door to me for the industry. Because yeah, it is pretty intense, and even back then, I did feel a pressure. I mentioned this before, right? We did a podcast on it too, where I think I sent out like over 100 or something like that applications. I keep flip flopping between like the rough number because I don't know the exact number. I mean, I wasn't really focused on like the number. I was just like sending applications out like every day until I got a couple of responses. Yeah, that's what you said as well, Tuscarine. Just keep going, keep at it. All right, cool. Let me quickly check if we have some more questions coming in from the community. There. Responses. That's good. Awesome. All right, I think this is going to be a pretty short one then. When it comes to the AMA, you know what I might do? I might just switch over to personal work. I was gonna take a little bit of a break and then do like a new stream, but I might have to do that anyway. Okay. Let me have a think. What do I want to do? Been finding it hard recently to keep chipping away at my personal work, now that I've actually started working. Well, the question is, do you still want to do it? Do you still feel the need to do so? Or do you have enough artistic growth to satisfy you? got the scene that I wanted to show off, but the progress has been really slow. Because that's always the thing, right? Yeah, I was gonna ask that too. If I think once you got into the industry and you kind of have a stable job, it's easier for you to just focus on the learning, or like focus on like the actual stuff that you want to learn. Make like a really small project on that, like really small. Don't overdo it, so that it's more about the actual stuff that you learn instead of, like you said, just finishing it. Because if you get to that point where you're just like, oh my god, now I need to spend like another couple of weeks on it just to finish it, you you're kind of killing the artistic mood around it, right? So I wouldn't continue, to be honest. I would probably leave it in the back burner and just do what you want to do. Because that's the thing, you just gave the answer yourself, right? It bites at you that you want to spend your free time playing games. Just do it. Don't feel guilty about it either. Like you shouldn't. Because now that you have a job in the industry, you're pushing your artistic skills and like technical skills like 8 hours a day already. You're learning on the job. So if you have a period where you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna come home, play games, do all that kind of stuff because that's what I enjoy, I think you should give into it. And I know this is kind of weird coming from me, right? But you kind of, how should I say it? It's more about like knowing yourself. And I mean, if we look at my example, right? Also, hey Lloyd, welcome to the stream, buddy. So if we look at my work, for example, and the stuff that I'm doing, I'm always working because I enjoy that part. Like I enjoy working more than I do playing games, honestly. There's obviously times where I play games and I kind of get into this little bit of a mood when I'm really into games again. But for the vast majority, I like the workflow. I like working on something. I like making progress in it. Even though some of my scenes haven't seen the light of day, like I love the stuff that I was doing there. I loved experimenting with it. Like I loved pushing myself. But it can also be the other way around, right? Where for me personally, if I'm gonna be really open about it, it also comes from I think it comes from a place where I'm not fully artistically fulfilled with my day job. And this is not something to do with like the actual place, right? Like I enjoy working at Ubisoft, but there's always this thing with any position in the industry where you're gonna be pigeonholed somewhat, or well, not pigeonholed, like it sounds so negative, but like you're gonna be focused on like one aspect of it, where there have been some moments when what's a good example of this? There have been some times where I wasn't creatively fulfilled, for example, and then I would love to go home, or like, well, not going home, I mean just finish work in this case, and then start working on my own project. But then I also have Beyond Extent that I'm doing, and there's like a lot of management and like organization that comes with that too. And then I also have the blog. So I think the reason why I bring that up is not to mention that I'm like super busy, but it's to mention that doing so much other stuff that once I get to my personal work, it's like, oh my god, finally, I made it. Like all the other stuff that has priority is kind of out of the way, so I can actually focus on like getting some personal work in. Where for a lot of other people, it's more simple, right? You have your creative work, and then you come home and do like your personal work. Where maybe it's good to switch it up. Um, and this is something that I've talked to some other people about too. Like for example, with Lloyd, I know that we talked about our structure. Like once we get home from work, um, I like to do my personal work first, or like get that stuff out of the way, and then maybe like treat myself to like a couple of games. Whereas Lloyd, for example, is the other way around, and it's important for you to discover that, like play around with that, look what fits the best, maybe even note it down in a notebook, like this day I had this kind of structure and I felt this good, and then compare and try to work out a system that works for you, because you shouldn't feel guilty about playing games. You're working 8 hours a day already. Like don't feel guilty about playing games. I have to actually start loaded up to get me going. Yeah, that's also, if you want to be a little bit more restrictive about it, is where deadlines come in too. For example, the blog that I do, like I know that every Thursday, 8 o'clock, it needs to be out. So I kind of have this time limit that's built in like every week. Um, but it's really interesting though, because a lot of people struggle with the same thing. So, Mike's question: what is your top tip to keep being focused on working on the scene, prop, or something different? I've been working on a scene recently, but then I saw something really inspiring and now I want to do something like this. And this happens over and over again. Um it's pretty simple. Don't look at anything that might distract you. For example, if I recognize that with myself, if I'm getting distracted or like if I'm getting inspired to do like a different thing, I just don't look at different things. I don't look at ArtStation. I don't look at Twitter. I don't look at Instagram. I don't look at other people's work. I am, there's probably like a term for it, but like I'm really specific where I get my information, or like how I feed, well, sounding like um really high minded here, but like how I feed my brain with like information. So for example, if I'm working on this medieval scene, I will look at like a ton of medieval documentary to just keep me in that same space. Or listen to Two Steps from Hell, which kind of has that like medieval kind of listening to it, right? Or because this is not all the time, right? This is not like me forcing myself to 24/7 only listen to something medieval, or like only look at something medieval, or pick something that has no way of really inspiring. For example, I listen to Joe Rogan for like a lot of this, where I don't really listen to the conversation, but it's more like background noise almost. So it has no impact on like my inspiration, but it does keep my brain busy now. Um, that is looking from. It is a simple answer, right? But I was just gonna say there's also more to it too, where that is looking at it from like the information that you feed yourself spectrum, right? But it can also be, if you look at the work itself, it can also be making projects that are not too big, so that by the time that you get inspiration to do like something different, like the scene is almost done. So that by the time that scratch comes up, you're almost done with the scene anyway. Browse a lot of 80 levels since I find a lot of useful information there. That happens again and again. Yeah, if you know that that is a source of distraction, just cut it out. It doesn't mean forever, right? But just until you finish the project. And then browse 80 level again to kickstart that whole inspiration trip. And then be like, oh my god, yeah, I could do something like this. And then that's the start of your next project. Because you're not shutting it out completely. It's more you're choosing when to selectively allow that information in. Lloyd is quickly dropping in to say to keep your eyes peeled on the Beyond Extend Twitter for an announcement in the next couple of days regarding the next challenge. Awesome. Yeah, just to keep you all informed, for everyone in the chat, we have the next challenge signups happening in the start of next month. So we're going to be dropping some information on our Twitter and also on our Patreon too. So yeah, if you looked at the previous examples from like the challenge, you want to build something like that, that's a really good way to just drop in, contribute, form a team, and then we'll get you started. I'm really excited for this one. I think this is going to be a big test for us, for like the organization, and also like really interesting to see what the teams come up with. So yeah, thanks Lloyd. Thanks for that quick update. I appreciate it. But yeah, Mikes, it is an interesting subject. It's good and bad at the same time. I find a lot of info that help me on my own project, like workflows. Yeah, but you can probably find that information on like YouTube anyway. Right? So you can probably look for those workflow tips on YouTube, and then you're kind of catering what you need by looking at it accurately. Or like more specifically, I should say. Where on 80 level articles, you're scrolling through, you're getting like lots of inputs. You might be scrolling through like the next what is it, article? And yeah, I mean, it's just a train from there on, right? It's just like distraction upon distraction, if you let it be. Kind of sorry to just bomb the chat. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, but I get it. I think the more platforms that are coming up, the less I engage with them. This is from my own personal standpoint, right? Because the information that we let in is really important. It's probably a thing that every artist needs to learn at some point. Yeah, for sure. Think I get more hyped than the people taking part. Hell yeah, man, this is your baby. You started this, so I can get it. And I'm hyped too, man. I'm really curious. I mean, again, like we talked about this before, right? Like the last challenges really blew us out of the water. So I'm really curious what's going to happen with this one. Also, I think I find YouTube more useful for targeted info than 80 level. Yeah, I've talked to some people that kind of, what is it, like kind of got bored with 80 level because a lot of it is the same, and there's just so much information on it. But that doesn't discredit them from reaching out to good artists and then them sharing like really good resources. Because I 100% agree with you, Bikes, that there are some golden nuggets in there too. Some really good stuff can be found in those 80 level articles. But then this also comes back to my digestion of information, where I'm not really keen to look through like a bunch of information to then what is it, like it's almost like I need that filtered, I need that filter in place already, where I don't want to be looking through like an article like the entire time and then finding that one golden nugget. Although I get it though. Typo heaven. Yeah, some real gems in there. A lot of it the same quite often. Yeah, I feel, man, it would be interesting if you had like an 80 level shorts or something, where, or like highlights or something, where you have, maybe this could be done by 80 level themselves, where this is where it becomes tricky, right? Because you need an actual good artist that can recognize that interesting information to then filter out from all the other stuff. So it could be like highlights or snippets that like an experienced artist could say like, oh god, this is really interesting. But then it can't be one artist because then they might be biased to like certain things. So I mean, it's a whole setup, but it could be interesting to have something like that. It could be interesting. Make it a section of the blog. Well, yeah, there is some stuff that I do want to do with the blog going forward. But yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because I have a lot of ideas. It's just I don't have a lot of time. That's the issue. Oh, thanks, Bikes. That's awesome. There's one thing that I'm kind of trying to, in like the long term, to get back to, and that is sharing work in progress from myself on my blog. Like I do want to bring that back, but with the current situation where I'm really unsure how much time I can spend on my personal work, I need to kind of find like a system where that fits in, if that makes sense. Where I can say like, okay, I have like dedicated time slots every week to just work on my personal work, and then share some of my findings or something in my blog. That would be really cool. Because sometimes I miss that, just sharing the information in like a really raw and crude way, where I just add like a couple of screenshots, add like a couple of lines to it, and be like, look, this is what I found, this is what I tried, and this is also where I failed. I think that could be really interesting. Not sure if you could say, well, not sure if you could say, but then you bring it up anyway. No, but I agree though. I think the team articles for the last challenge, they were good, but they will become repetitive. So we need to talk about what we want to do there. I'm thinking about some way where there's like a really like a thing that stands out, or like a project that really stands out, then going into like an article, for example. Because yeah, Like with this one, we try to keep it like equal between the teams, but I'm not sure if that's the good way going forward. But that's something we definitely need to discuss. Because, yeah, that's also what I wanted to achieve with my articles before, right? Well, not with my articles, but with like the people that that made some of the articles for us, is that they were really interesting in a way where they focused on something. Like it was targeted information. And like the whole article was about like one topic almost. Like really concise. Well, not really concise, but like really in depth, but like all focused on one thing instead of just being like a breakdown of their scene. So I think that's like the sort of direction that could be interesting for those scenes as well. Tuscary. Let's go walk the dog. Chipping away in your personal scene. Oh yeah, if you want to get some feedback, like I'm here every Sunday. So well, and also on the community chat, right? You can also ask me stuff there, like in the Discord channel. If you're a Patreon supporter, you can always feel free to just ping me a message. I'm probably gonna do the same. I'm gonna log off for a little bit. Sort out some Unreal Engine issues because I'm trying to get the new engine up and running because it seems that it's not working out. And then I might do another stream. I hope that I can do a stream. It would be interesting. All right, everyone. This was a good chat. I loved hanging out with everyone, and I wish you all a good Sunday. See ya.